Alright, it's Coral45 here, and I'm finally getting started on my video on how to build a computer. And to start off, before everything, I'm going to say that I shouldn't be doing this on carpet. If you have like hard floors, tile, anything, on a wooden table, that'd be a lot better than this. So, with I got all my parts here to build a computer. Got hard drives. They're kind of all jumbled up. They're not in any order. I've actually got 3 hard drives because I found some extra ones I had lying around I want to put in my computer. Got RAM right here, 8 gigabytes to 4 gig sticks. My video card, which is just a cheap recertified GTX or GT something 220. It was only like 20 bucks, but it runs everything I need it to. We got the heatsink for the processor, and since this is an existing computer, like as you can see in the motherboard, the processor is still in it, and I'm going to leave it that way just because I like to, I don't want to take it out and leave it out too much because the processors are somewhat delicate. So I'm going to leave it in there when I put the motherboard in there, but once I put the motherboard in there, I'm going to show you how to put the processor in, but I just want to leave it in there as long as possible and not have to take it out. So some people like to put the processor in the motherboard and the heatsink on before they put the motherboard in, but I don't like to do that. I feel it's a lot more sturdy and easier to do while it's in the computer bolted down. And also I'm going to say that I use an anti-static bracelet hooked to the side of the case. You don't have to do that. I've built many computers without it. It's a precaution, and especially since I'm on carpet, it'll help a lot. I've got all the screws over here. These are hand crank screws which came with my case, which are a lot nicer. I like to use them wherever I can. And I've also got a flashlight, all my tools, a power supply that's slightly modular. You can change these out, but it's not completely modular because they're not like stuck on the side of the case. And that looks like all the parts I've got here. So to start off, we'll go to the case. Let me just move my motherboard and bring the case back. Alright, here's my case with both back sides removed. You can see all the way through. Well, not back sides, both of the sides removed. A few things to note, since like this was a pre-existing computer. These right here are not going to be on there. They're mounting screws. They're going to come with your case, and you're going to have to install them. The easiest way is to just look at your motherboard and kind of set it in the case and see where all these screw holes are, and then find out where they line up on here, because some motherboards have different places for screws. So line up all your mounting screws. That's the first thing you do, and the second would be to put in the black plate, because I'm not going to take it out because I hate putting on back plates. But it'll come with your motherboard. It's just the piece that has all the backing to the back of the motherboard ports and everything. So my case is a bottom mount power supply. A lot of cases are top mount. I prefer bottom mount, but it's just whatever you'd like. And my case is a bit weird. Well, not weird, it's getting more and more popular to have just different ways of installing things. My drives, like my hard drives, go in vertical rather than horizontal, and you mount them from the back. If you're using like a standard case, this piece right here where your drives will be mounted will be turned the other way, and the drives are usually hanging out on the side over here, and you just plug them in. That would be most common, but it's just becoming more and more common in cases to have different ways of mounting your stuff. So just read your case manual and see what they say. You should be able to figure it out. But mine also had toolless stuff right here for like my CD drive. I couldn't exactly figure it out, and I don't think it just didn't work with my CD drive, even though I should have standard holes. But another thing to note is that this piece, can't even see it with my flashlight. There we go. That piece won't be removed for your CD drive. You're gonna have to remove that too on these, the top of these panels. You're gonna have to remove that. So my case does have a little bit of things different than it would come stock, but you should be able to figure it out. This, you'll have to remove the PCI slot too once you put the motherboard in to figure out where your PCI cards are gonna go. And then the last thing before we get started is all these cables that are coming in your case. These are the cables that, well, these ones right here are going to map all the power buttons, reset buttons, and LEDs, like power LED, hard drive LED, to the motherboard. And if you look on them, most of them should say, like this one says, power switch. And here's two for positive and negative of the power LED. And there'll be a reset switch and a hard drive LED. So these we will hook onto the motherboard. That's what those are for. And these cables are for your front ports, like front USB, front audio, and mine has an eSATA. So, an eSATA, this is USB, if you can read it, USB 2.0. And then this one comes with HD audio and A79, where'd it go? 97, not 79, A97 audio, AC, which is just not HD audio. So those are the ports. So after you've got your mounting screws on there and your back plate on, it's time to put in your motherboard. Alright, we'll just see if this works and you can see everything. I've got my anti-static bracelet on, hooked to the side of the case. Push all these cables back to make room for the motherboard. And we are going to slide it into place on the mounting screws and try and line it up with our back plate. Which, there we go, that looks like. Sometimes the back plate has, well, a lot of times they have metal parts on the back that go like on top of the ports. Sometimes they get in the way and they push the motherboard a little bit. So like if you push the motherboard onto the screws, and then they'll like push it back because they're kind of springy. Just get it pretty close to the mounting screws, and then you can, if they are pushing back, they should be on top and they shouldn't, but some of them do. Push it, just get it really close and then push it and then add a screw in there. And then it'll stay put. Looks like all my screws are lined up. And yeah, see, it's pushing it right there. So the next thing to do is to screw in the motherboard on all your mounting screws. They should come with screws. My case, I don't remember if it was my case or my motherboard. It's probably my case. Came with these screws. They should look similar to this. A lot of them have little rubber rings on the bottom right here. But screw all those in. Alright, we got the motherboard all screwed in. That one's not tight. And there's not really a set way you have to, well, not order that you have to put them in. Once you get the motherboard in, you can essentially put it in whatever order you want. But usually, logically, the next thing is the processor, which right here they all have. Let's see if there's a light. There's usually a lever, which you can see right here, that which locks the processor in once it's put in. So you open that lever up. Alright, there's the processor. There's a lot of thermal grease on it from when I had it installed before, which I need to wipe off. I don't want it on those pins. Dang it. Alright, well that took a while because I got a little bit of the thermal compound on a few of the pins, which is bad. Well, it's not terrible. It shouldn't cause problems, but some thermal compounds, they don't conduct electricity on their own, but in small traces under compression, they have a tendency to. So I think I cleared it off all the pins. Hopefully that doesn't mess anything up. But we should be fine. Let me see if I can get that. So now that we got that off there, I also cleaned some of the top of it, if you can see it. If you look, alright, on mine it's right here in this corner and it won't focus. But if you check each corner, at least on AMD processors, it's different for different processors. There should be a guide on how to do it in probably your processor that came with your processor, or you can just figure it out. It's usually pretty straightforward. But in that corner right there is a little notch down, and then on this processor, one corner has a little bit gold, and the other ones aren't. So that corner, the gold corner, goes right in the corner with the notch on the motherboard. So make sure your lever is up and just seat it down. It should just fall into place. Move it around a little bit. Mine went there pretty easy. And then pull the lever down and it'll lock. So now you got your processor in. Alright, the next piece is the heatsink. This is just a standard heatsink that came with my processor. Your processor should come with one. In my last video I told you to look for that. If it doesn't, you can buy a processor that fits just fine. Or not a processor. You can buy a heatsink that fits online on Newegg. Just look around for them and see what they support. And if your heatsink came with your processor, there should be a little bit of thermal grease on here. Mine came with my processor, but I put it on and took it off. So I'm going to need to reapply thermal grease. So I'm going to clean both of them. Alright, got all the thermal grease removed, thermal compound, whatever you'd like to call it. And I have some thermal compound right here. You can usually get it online for really cheap, or it gets kind of expensive depending on if you buy the cheap stuff or the expensive stuff. But I'm going to add a few dots to the processor. You don't need to cover the whole thing, because when you press it down onto the processor, it should spread out pretty well. I don't know if there's any pattern you're supposed to use or what. I usually just do 5 dots, 4, and then 1 in the middle of them all. If you can see that. Yeah, right there. That might even be a little much. We then take your heatsink. Mine, the way it works, which a lot of them should work similar, is there are little clips right here and here on the front and back of the processor mount, and there are clips here and here that go on them, and then you pull this lever and it'll tighten them, because it would be like this, and it'll pull the metal part up, which will tighten them. And it really doesn't matter what direction you put it, but this is the power to the fan. My CPU power is right here, this little white thing I'm pointing to, if you can see it. Yep, there it is. Right here. That's the power to the fan for the motherboard, or not the motherboard, the processor. So I'm gonna put, my power comes out right here, so I'm just gonna put that closest to that just to make it more convenient. So first, I'm gonna just set it on there, try and get it as square and even as possible. Give it a little pressure to push that thermal grease all around the processor. pull the lever back and you've got your processor heatsink installed. All there's left to do is put on the power connector for the fan, and there's your processor heatsink. So the next thing that I'm going to do is install the RAM. With the new DDR3, you used to, if you had 4 slots on DDR2, you'd alternate it, like 1 and then 3 and then 2 and 4. So like if you only had 2, you'd use 1 and 3 rather than 1 and 2. But with DDR3, they've got it set up so it's just 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm gonna open these clips, and then you look, if you look on to your RAM slots, it'll be kind of hard to see from there, but there's a part where there's the little dip in here. You'll see it in the RAM, in the slot. So find out, one will be shorter and one will be longer. Find out where the shorter one is and line it up. So on mine, the shorter one is on the far side over here. So I'm going to take the shorter piece and put it on that side and just line it up on the pins. And let's get that over here. They're all lined up and in, and you just give it a push. Don't be afraid to push with a little force. When I first started it, I was surprised like how much force it took. But don't be afraid to give it a little force. You don't have to be super delicate. And wait till they're snapped in. And then I've got 2 sticks of RAM. You may only have 1 or you may have 4. I'm gonna put in my second stick. There, that one snapped in there nice and good. There we go, we got our RAM in. And next, let's do the power supply. So, power supplies, depending on the bottom, well, you don't have to buy a bottom or top mount power supply, that's just all on the case. But you're gonna find where the cables come out of. They're usually on the bottom or the top, and then where the cables come out of is going to be facing the back of the case. So here's the bottom part, so it's going to be closest to the side of the case, and then that's obviously going to go on the outside. So you put it in here. All right, we got it in place. Now it's kind of dark, I don't know if you can see that. There. Now I've got hand crank screws, but you can use normal screws if you want. I'm only gonna put 2 screws in here. There's a place for usually about 4, but 1 here and then 1 across, and that should be fine and keep everything in there. Now we got it on there, it's nice and sturdy, it's not moving. Let's hook up well, not all, the power to our motherboard and processor. So there'll be, on most motherboards, there'll be 2 places for power. One is right here, which is just the main power. It's 20 to 24 pins, usually 24 now. And then there'll be one over here. It's either a 4 or a 6 pin. I've seen some of them come in 6 pin for higher end motherboards. But that's the power just to the processor. So there's my phone ringing. Here's the power to the processor, which goes right over there. But you're gonna hook this in over here, and they should only fit one way, but if you look, you'll see a clip on the side right here, and then you'll see a little lip right there on the top of it, if you can see it. And that's where the clip hooks onto, so that'll help you determine where it goes. So let's hook it up. Okay, we got it all hooked in. Now here's the 20 plus 4 pin, which the 20 plus 4 pin I was telling you about is these last 4 pins. Right now they're taped together because that's the way they came. But these last 4 pins can come off, where those arrows are pointing, and that will allow you to hook it into a 20 pin motherboard, which are getting less and less common. But find the clip, which is right here on this side. And then most motherboards have just one huge clip along the back, which it's on this side over here. You probably can't even see it very well, but we'll push it in there. There we go, we got our motherboard power going. Next, going to be, we'll do the video card since those cables are starting to get in the way and we don't want to have to hassle to get the video card in. Alright, video cards. They're most likely, if you bought a higher end one or even an average one, are going to come with the PCI Express slot, which is basically that. And they do come in PCI and other ones, but they're a lot less common. So if you look on the motherboard, right here, that black one is the PCI Express by 16. And same as the card, it even says PCI Express 2.0. So that's where the card's gonna go. All you really have to do is make sure that this is the PCI slot where it's gonna go is removed. You can kind of set the card close to it to see which PCI slot it's gonna use. So you remove that, grab your card, and just really push it in. Line it up. And there we go. It's in. That's essentially all you have to do. Higher end graphics cards are going to have, they're going to be a lot bigger, first of all, and they will have power on the back. It's PCI power, which mine's modular, so let's see if I can find what it looks like. Right here, I haven't even used it because mine doesn't have PCI power. See, it's 6 pins right there. That would hook onto the back of the video card. Yeah, the back of the video card. Some of them even take 2, and here's one to turn it into 8 pin. So just keep that in mind if you're doing a larger video card. The next step is to screw it down. There's a hole right there for a screw on the PCI card, so I'm just gonna do that. Oh, look, I dropped it. Where's my tweezers? And on a lot of cases, just like this one, the PCI screws are a pain in the butt to get in because of this lip right here. It doesn't allow your screwdriver to go straight down. Next, we're going to install these, which are the audio and USB and eSATA. Yours may come with different ones. Some of them come with a 1394, which is a FireWire connection. It just depends on your case on what it comes with, but they're definitely going to come with audio and video if you bought a good, well, a normal case. So check on them. This one's USB 2.0. So then you're going to go over to your motherboard and look. You can open up its manual and that'll tell you where everything is, or if it's a big motherboard, well, not big, just a larger motherboard, it should tell you right under it. Like you can read right there, FUSB 1, FUSB 2. Each USB onboard connector supports 2 USB ports, so there's 4, the ability for 4 on your front, but most cases now only come with 2. And then if you look, the HD audio is in the way. Right there it says F audio 1. So that's where our audio is going to go. And then here are all our SATA ports for hooking up peripherals like a CD drive and hard drives and stuff, as long as they're SATA compatible. So we're going to take There's HD audio, and audio's over there in the corner. There are, as you can see, the pins are set up specific, like it's missing that one pin, and that's to make sure so that it will only fit in audio, because audio is missing that one pin right there, and then USB is just missing one on the end, so you don't get them mixed up. So here we're going to install HD audio. I think you'll get the idea based on what I showed you, because that's impossible to videotape without someone else. Next, going to be USB, which is essentially the same thing. It doesn't matter which one you put it in, FUSB 1 or FUSB 2. It is dark, you can't even see that. And push it on. There you go. That one's in. The next one just goes into a SATA port, just like anything else. So check on the SATA where that little bend is, and then on your ports there will also be a bend. Right, yeah, you can see the little L at the bottom. Just line those up. I'm gonna put this one in last just because I want my drives to be first. Well, not last, but in third, since I'm installing two different ones. So next comes these, which are annoying sometimes. Alright, you can, what was I saying? You can find these pinouts on your motherboard if they aren't printed here. They are printed on my motherboard. There we go. It shows power, the power LED on off switch, and on the bottom there, hard drive LED. I can't read that from through the cameras. Oh, speaker, which I don't have a speaker to plug in. It's just your motherboard speaker. It'll do a lot of beeping and it'll tell you if you've got some errors. And then on the bottom right, because it went out of focus, it just says reset switch. And then you've got all of these. Power switch. This one says hard drive LED. And then I bet this one says reset switch, and then power LED. Hard drive LED shows up whenever it's accessing your hard drive, and the power LED is just on as long as the computer's on. So first, we'll do the switches. These don't matter what way they go on. Power switch. We look on our motherboard, and we find which one says on off, which is the power switch, and we put it on in between those two pins. Okay, there we go. As you can see over on the on off on the right, it's got the pin or the switch on there, and it's across the two pins that say on and off. There's still two pins under it. I don't know if you can see. Right there, the reset. So that's how the pins go on. The power LED and the HD LED, they have a polarity though, so you're going to need to put them on the right way because LEDs only work in one direction. Just look at the wire. Red, or really any other color since they're different colors, is going to be the positive, and black is always going to be the ground or the negative. So that's how you tell there. This is the power LED. As you can see, these ones aren't joined together, they're separate. And if you looked on here, you saw that, oh, there's a no focus. There's two positive and one negative. Just use, what I always do is use the positive on the left with the positive one you have, and then put the negative on the negative, obviously. Well, the negative is just the one that's not shown. Then hard drive LED also has positive and a negative on there. I'm gonna put those on. So, now that we got all that in there, we're going to take our peripherals. Well, these aren't really peripherals, they're part of a computer, and put them in. Here's a CD drive. I reused it. It was white. I just painted it black so it matched the case, but it kind of chipped right there. And CD drives always, well, almost always, I've had a few cases that don't, which is dumb, go in on the front rather than the inside. So you're gonna put it until the holes line up. You can see those holes lined up. And you're technically supposed to put screws in on both sides, like this side that I'm screwing in right now, and then the reverse side, like the one that's facing the table. But I don't like to do that because then it makes taking the computer apart later a lot harder. Not harder, more time consuming. Alright, we got the CD drive in, and then we're gonna put my hard drive in. It's just a 200 gig SATA, as you can see on the top. But the way my case is designed is a little weird, and yours will probably be different. So just look at your case instructions, and they should tell you. But I use these things, little rails on the side, and let's see if I can get them in with one hand. Can you see that? They go on just like that. They don't screw in or anything. They just sit on there. So I'm going to use my tripod to hold both of them in. So, all right, and there it's on, and as you can see, they go on backwards because this is where you grip it with your fingers on the top, and you actually slide it in backwards, which is a little weird. Just like that, and you push down, it'll lock into place, and now on my case, this is how I have to install drives. I shouldn't have put that up yet because I need to add a few things. When you're installing hard drives or anything, CD drives, hard drives, whatever you put in the drive base, you will need power, which these are SATA power right here, and mine's modular. My power supply is modular, so I've got this right here, which I just hook onto any one of these, and I can get power, which is nice. It just makes for a cleaner case rather than having a million cables in there. And then you're going to need a way to hook it into whatever interface, which is a SATA cable right here, or this has a IDE cable right here. So let's put this back down since I put it up. We're gonna put the SATA cable in one port, and remember to look for the L or the little arm, whatever you want to call it, and put it in the first. And if you've got multiple hard drives, a good idea, though it's not really required, is to have your first your drive that you're going to be booting from, that you're going to install the operating system, as your first SATA port or first IDE, like the master of your IDE. But it's not required, and you can definitely get it working otherwise. It's just a common practice, I guess. And now, see, my drives were in backwards, so normally, like if these drives were in a different computer, they'd probably be on the top right here, or they'd be turned sideways, horizontal, and it would just be going in the side like that. But my case is weird, so I have to route it around back through these panels right here. So I'm going to put my SATA through here. And my first one is a lighter one. Alright. Let's take this off. Here's the other side of my case. And I mean, in most cases, you won't even need to take off this plate, this side. There's not a whole lot you do back here unless you want to add screws to the CD drive and the hard drives, because some hard drives will be faced the other way. Hard drives. So first, I'm gonna attach power. It really needs to be lighter, but I can't hold the flashlight. Check for the L, which way it's going. Alright, there you go. You can see I got both the power plugged in, And then we gotta plug each SATA cable in. Alright, we got both our hard drives plugged in. That is all I will be doing back here, so I'm gonna put the other side of the case on. Alright, now we need to hook up the CD drive, which is right up there. Mine's IDE. If yours is SATA, you'll follow the same thing with one SATA cable, one SATA power, but mine is actually IDE. So I've got an IDE cable right here, master and slave. I need to find power. So right here there's some 4-pin Molex, which is what IDE devices take, and there's the part to my power supply. So let's hook that up. Alright, there's our power to it. And if you look on the cable, most of them should say something. Master, slave, CPU board. If they don't, the way to figure it out, see how these two connectors, slave and master, are closer together, and then there's like a long space in between to the CPU board. So if they don't say anything, the two that are closer together are the master and the slave. So IDE cables have a little notch right there. If I can get it to focus. This thing doesn't like to focus. But you just find the notch on the IDE port, which mine is that red one right there. If you can see it through the wires, and just put the CPU board part in on the CPU board. Got that in. We've got our master right here, which is, I'm just gonna put it on the CD drive, and then they're linked like that so that you can put something under it, like right there. So got our CD drive connector in. Now we need our power, which is going to be 4-pin Molex, and right there you can see it. Just push it in. This is hard without two hands. There we go. We got our 4-pin Molex in, and now we need to hook up the fan. A lot of cases now come with fans. This fan has a 4-pin Molex input and then output, so you can reuse the 4-pin Molex because it doesn't draw a whole lot of power, or a motherboard fan connector, which motherboard fan connectors are usually better to use because they output, or they can take input from the speed of the fan if the fan supports it. So mine actually only has one fan. My fan support, I guess, which is right there if you can see it. Those three, that white thing next to the screw. So we just take it and you look from the top, and it's got those two little notches on the top left and top right. Those will just stay out of the way of, there's a little white backing piece. That's how you get the fan in there, and that looks like everything that we've got installed to get a computer running and able to turn on. So put this in here, and we'll put the other side case on. Well, actually, I'm not going to put this on because I'm going to install something later after this. But you'd put it on and add the screws right here on this side. That's way too high. And put screws right there so that it will stay on. And then we are going to get power, which goes on the power supply. And make sure on the power supply there are some switches. Mine's right here if you can see it. It has an on-off switch. Just make sure it's on, which is the 1. The 0, if you didn't know, binary, 0's off, 1's on. And then we're going to need a monitor input. And then really all we need is a keyboard. You don't necessarily need a mouse. You can navigate everything with just a keyboard. Alright, yeah, you can't even use a keyboard or a mouse unless you have an operating system installed, so you don't need it for a while. So that's really all you need plugged in. Make sure your power supply's on and your monitor is on, and we'll hit the power button right here. And if everything went well, the screen should turn on. And there we go. The computer is up and running. And mine's already got an operating system on it. So the next video I'm going to be making is after you've built your computer is how to install an operating system and get it running. I've got Windows 7 on it right now. I don't know what operating system I'm going to be doing. If you want Windows 7, just let me know. I can do a Linux. Anything really, but that is how you get your computer up and running after you bought the parts. And you can see how to buy the parts on my previous video.